The Curse of the Painting. In the heart of an ancient city, where time-worn cobblestones wove intricate patterns through winding alleys, a grand estate stood as a testament to wealth and opulence. Its stately facade, adorned with intricate carvings and towering spires, cast an imposing shadow over the surrounding district, a silent sentinel that guarded the secrets of generations past. Within its hallowed halls, the walls were adorned with a vast collection of priceless works of art, each piece a masterpiece in its own right. Exquisite tapestries hung alongside masterfully rendered portraits, their subjects frozen in time, their eyes seeming to follow the viewer's every movement. Sculptures of marble and bronze stood like silent sentinels, their forms capturing the essence of beauty and grace. Yet, among these treasures hung a seemingly innocuous painting, its canvas concealing a dark secret that had been buried for centuries. To the untrained eye, it appeared unremarkable. A simple landscape depicting a desolate plain and twisted mountains, their peaks piercing the ominous skies. But to those attuned to the whispers of the supernatural, the painting exuded an aura of malevolence, a palpable energy that seemed to emanate from the very brushstrokes themselves. The previous owner of the estate, a reclusive aristocrat whose name had long since faded from memory, had acquired the painting from a mysterious source, ignorant of the malevolent force that lurked within its brushstrokes. As the years passed, the owner's descent into madness was swift and unrelenting, his mind consumed by visions of a nightmarish realm that existed beyond the confines of the canvas. In his final moments, the aristocrat had penned a cryptic warning, his trembling hand scrawling desperate pleas to destroy the cursed painting before the entities trapped within could break free. But his words went unheeded, lost to time. And the painting remained, its curse lying dormant, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to fall under its sinister spell. Marcus Ellison was a man consumed by his passion for art. As a renowned collector, he scoured the globe in search of rare and captivating pieces, driven by an insatiable desire to possess beauty in its most exquisite forms. His vast fortune afforded him access to the most exclusive auctions and private sales, where he would acquire works of unparalleled craftsmanship and historical significance. It was this burning obsession that led him to the Grand Estate auction, where the late aristocrat's extensive collection was to be dispersed among the highest bidders. The auction house, a stately manor in its own right, buzzed with excitement as wealthy patrons and connoisseurs gathered, each vying for the chance to acquire the treasures that had once adorned the estate's hallowed halls. Marcus, however, had his sights set on a single piece, a haunting portrait that seemed to exude an otherworldly aura. As the painting was unveiled, a hush fell over the room, each attendee drawn to its mesmerizing allure. The canvas depicted a grim landscape, its barren mountains casting long shadows over a desolate plain. In the distance, a solitary figure stood, its back turned to the viewer, shrouded in an ominous cloak that seemed to ripple with an unseen force. Without hesitation, Marcus raised his paddle, engaging in a fierce bidding war that ultimately secured the painting as his own. As the gavel fell, signaling his triumph, a fleeting sense of unease rippled through the collector's mind, but he quickly dismissed it, his focus consumed by the thrill of acquisition. Little did he know that his triumph would mark the beginning of a descent into a waking nightmare, one that would test the boundaries of his sanity and his very existence. Upon returning to his opulent manor, a sprawling estate nestled amidst rolling hills and manicured gardens, Marcus wasted no time in finding the perfect spot to display his latest acquisition. He settled on the grand study, a room adorned with leather-bound tomes and the finest antiquities, a sanctuary where he could lose himself in the pursuit of beauty. As he gazed upon the painting, Marcus found himself inexplicably drawn to its haunting imagery. The more he studied the canvas, the more he became convinced that there was something beyond the surface, a hidden depth that begged to be unraveled. In the days that followed, Marcus found himself spending hours upon hours in the study, his eyes fixated on the painting, searching for clues, for whispers of the secrets it held. As his obsession grew, the world around him began to fade, his own vibrant life reduced to a mere backdrop for his relentless pursuit of the painting's enigma. Strange visions began to plague his dreams, vivid nightmares that transported him to the desolate landscape depicted in the canvas. In these dreams, he would find himself wandering the barren plains, drawn inexorably towards the cloaked figure that seemed to beckon him forward, its presence both alluring and terrifying. Marcus's one devoted staff grew increasingly concerned, their pleas for him to seek help falling on deaf ears. He would dismiss their worries with a wave of his hand, his focus consumed by the painting's siren call. As the weeks turned into months, Marcus's one lauded collection fell into disrepair, the prized pieces gathering dust as his singular focus remained fixed on the cursed painting. His friends and colleagues, those who had once reveled in his company, found themselves shut out, their invitations to social engagements met with silence or terse refusals. It was during one of his nightly vigils in the study that Marcus first noticed the subtle changes in the painting. The shadows seemed to shift, the barren landscape taking on a life of its own, as if beckoning him to step through the canvas and into the realm beyond. Consumed by his obsession, Marcus found himself drawn closer and closer to the painting, his fingertips tracing the brushstrokes as if seeking to unravel the very fabric of reality. It was in that moment that he felt a sudden chill, a presence that seemed to emanate from the canvas itself, a malevolent force that sought to ensnare him in its twisted embrace. Without warning, the painting seemed to come alive, the cloaked figure turning to face Marcus, its visage a haunting amalgam of twisted features and gaping maws. In a flash, the figure reached out, its elongated limbs breaching the boundaries of the canvas, grasping at Marcus with an unearthly strength. Marcus found himself falling, plunging into the abyss that lay beyond the painting's surface. He tumbled through a vortex of swirling colors and distorted shapes, his screams lost in the cacophony of the void. When at last he emerged, Marcus found himself standing in the desolate landscape he had so often visited in his dreams. The barren plain stretched out before him, the twisted mountains looming in the distance like sentinels guarding a forbidden realm. The air was thick with an oppressive miasma, a noxious haze that seemed to cling to his skin, suffocating him with its weight. The ground beneath his feet was not earth, but a shifting mass of writhing tendrils that undulated with a life of their own. As he turned, Marcus came face to face with the cloaked figure, its visage now a shifting mass of writhing tendrils and gaping maws. The entity regarded him with a twisted grin, its voice a cacophony of whispers that seemed to penetrate the very depths of his mind. "Welcome, foolish mortal," the entity hissed. "You have stumbled into our realm, a place where your pathetic existence holds no sway. Here we are the masters and you are but a plaything for our amusement." Marcus recoiled in horror, his mind struggling to comprehend the nightmarish reality that had ensnared him. He pleaded with the entity, begging for release, for a way to return to the world he knew. The entity laughed, a sound that chilled Marcus to his very core. "There is no escape, no return to your pitiful existence. You are ours now, a vessel for our insatiable hunger, a conduit through which we shall breach the boundaries of your world and claim dominion over all." As the entity spoke, its form seemed to shift and contort, its limbs elongating and twisting into grotesque shapes. From the depths of its cavernous maws, countless tendrils unfurled, each tipped with barbed hooks that glistened with a viscous fluid. Before Marcus could react, the tendrils lashed out, ensnaring him in their slimy embrace. He thrashed and screamed, but his efforts were in vain, the barbed hooks digging into his flesh, injecting him with a burning venom that coursed through his veins. As the venom took hold, Marcus's mind was assaulted by a barrage of visions, glimpses into the entity's vast consciousness. He bore witness to eons of existence, to the countless realms the entity had subjugated, to the civilizations it had consumed and the worlds it had reduced to ash. In the midst of this onslaught, Marcus caught fleeting glimpses of his own world, of the life he had once known. He saw his beloved manor, his staff tending to the gardens and polishing the priceless artifacts that adorned the halls. He saw his friends, their faces etched with concern, their voices calling out to him, begging him to return from the abyss that had consumed him. But these visions were fleeting, mere fragments that were quickly swallowed by the entity's relentless assault. Marcus felt his sense of self slipping away, his identity being subsumed by the malevolent force that had ensnared him. As the last vestiges of his former life faded, Marcus surrendered himself to the entity's embrace, his mind and body becoming a vessel for its twisted will. In the days that followed, Marcus found himself trapped in a waking nightmare, his body serving as a vessel for the malevolent entities that now ruled his existence. They taunted him, their whispers filling his mind with visions of unspeakable horrors, forcing him to bear witness to the atrocities they had committed across countless realms. Marcus's own vibrant manor became a twisted mockery of its former self, the walls adorned with grotesque sigils and eldritch symbols that seemed to pulse with an unholy energy. The one treasured works of art were defiled. Their canvases now serving as portals for the entities to manifest their twisted forms. The staff, those loyal souls who had once tended to Marcus's every need, found themselves subjected to a waking nightmare. Some fled in terror, their sanity shattered by the horrors they had witnessed. Others were not so fortunate, their bodies twisted and contorted into grotesque parodies of their former selves, forced to serve as servants to the entities that had taken root within the manor's halls. In his most lucid moments, Marcus would catch glimpses of his former life, fleeting memories of the passion that had once consumed him. He would see himself standing before his vast collection, his eyes alight with the thrill of discovery, his fingers tracing the brushstrokes of masterpieces that now lay defiled and forgotten. But these moments were brief, quickly extinguished by the relentless onslaught of the entity's torment. They delighted in tormenting him, forcing him to relive the moments of his descent, the choices that had led him to this nightmarish existence. As the entities grew stronger, their influence began to spread beyond the confines of Marcus's home. Strange occurrences began to plague the surrounding neighborhood, unexplained phenomena that left the residents paralyzed with fear. Some spoke of eerie whispers that echoed through the night, voices that seemed to slither into their minds and plant seeds of madness. Others claimed to have witnessed twisted apparitions, grotesque figures that would materialize in the shadows, only to vanish without a trace. It was only a matter of time before the authorities took notice, their investigations leading them to the doorstep of Marcus's one grand manor. What they discovered within those walls would forever shatter their perception of reality, and set in motion a desperate struggle to contain the malevolent forces that had taken root in their world. As the reports of strange occurrences mounted, a covert organization, tasked with investigating and containing supernatural threats, took notice. They were a shadowy group, operating in the fringes of society, their existence known only to a select few. Agents were dispatched to investigate the manor, their training and state-of-the-art equipment meant to prepare them for any eventuality. But nothing could have braced them for the horrors that awaited within those cursed walls. As they breached the manor's defenses, the agents were assaulted by a barrage of twisted imagery and eldritch energies. The one opulent halls had been transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth, the walls pulsing with an unholy life, the floors writhing with tendrils that lashed out at the intruders. They pressed on, their weapons trained on the shadowy figures that materialized from the darkness, only to be met with a force that defied comprehension. These were not mere apparitions, but physical manifestations of the entities that had taken root within the manor, their forms shifting and contorting in ways that defied the laws of physics. As the battle raged, the agents found themselves outmatched, their bullets and energy weapons seemingly ineffective against the entity's twisted forms. It was only through the intervention of the organization's most skilled operatives, those versed in the arcane arts, that the tide began to turn. Ancient incantations were invoked, powerful rituals that drew upon the very fabric of reality itself. The air crackled with energy, arcane sigils flaring to life as the entities were forced to face a power that rivaled their own. In the midst of this maelstrom, Marcus emerged, his form twisted and distorted, a mere shell for the malevolent force that had consumed him. The entities delighted in using him as a conduit, amplifying their powers and taunting the agents with his familiar visage. But the operatives were not so easily swayed. They recognized the truth that the being before them was no longer Marcus Ellison, but a vessel for a force that sought to subjugate all of reality. With a final, desperate effort, the operatives channeled their combined energies, unleashing a torrent of arcane power that ripped through the manor's defenses. The entities howled in rage, their forms dissipating and retreating back into the realm from whence they had emerged. As the dust settled, the manor stood in ruins, its one grand halls reduced to rubble. But the operatives knew that their battle was far from over. The painting remained, its canvas now serving as a gateway, a tether that bound the entities to this world. In the aftermath of the harrowing events that had unfolded, the painting was seized by the covert organization, its canvas carefully preserved and sealed within a lead-lined vault deep beneath the earth. Powerful wards and arcane rituals were enacted, their energies contained but never truly extinguished. As for Marcus, his fate remained a mystery, his body and mind forever lost to the entities that had possessed him. Some whispered that he had been taken to a secret facility, where he would be studied and perhaps, one day, cured of the malignant force that had consumed him. Others spoke of a more sinister end, that Marcus's corporeal form had been destroyed, his essence consigned to the nightmarish realm from whence the entities had emerged, doomed to wander those desolate plains for all eternity. In the years that followed, the painting's legacy would become the stuff of urban legends, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lurk beyond the veil of our reality, waiting for the unwary to stumble into their grasp. Tales of the cursed manor and its twisted inhabitants were passed down through generations, each retelling more embellished than the last. And though the painting itself had been secured, the fear remained a lingering dread that one day the entities would find a way to breach the boundaries once more, unleashing their insatiable hunger upon an unsuspecting world. The covert organization remained ever vigilant, their agents scouring the globe for any signs of the entity's return. They knew that the battle was never truly over, that the forces of darkness were always seeking new footholds, new vessels through which to manifest their twisted desires. And so they watched, and they waited, their ranks bolstered by those who had witnessed the horrors of the cursed manor firsthand. For they knew that the only way to truly defeat such malevolence was to remain ever vigilant, to stand as guardians against the encroaching darkness, no matter the cost. Decades passed, and the tale of the cursed painting faded into obscurity, relegated to the realm of myth and legend. The covert organization, once so vigilant in their watch, found themselves consumed by new threats, new horrors that demanded their attention. It was during this lapse, this moment of complacency, that the entities began to stir once more. Deep within the vaults, the wards and arcane safeguards that had contained the painting's malign energies began to falter. Whispers echoed through the corridors, voices that slithered into the minds of the unsuspecting, planting seeds of doubt and fear. And then, without warning, the vault was breached. Alarms blared, agents scrambled to contain the breach, but it was too late.